Okay, welcome to part 3 of the scripting series. Today we're going to be going over if, else if, and else statements and operators for those statements. So let's do it. So I'm gonna make a script and I'm gonna make two number variables. So I'm gonna make local ticket equals true and local age equals I'll do 18. So pretty much there's no way to show it off in like an actual visual example unless I use loops. So I'll just use loops in the next video and combine them with if statements. So we'll pretty much be in the console and script for the entire time of this video. So local ticket is true, so we have a ticket and age is 18. So if statement. So let's say you have a game and you're trying to detect if the player is underground. So you could do that with if statements by checking the player's Y position and checking if it's under a certain threshold. So that's how you will use if statements. It's an example, and obviously it will be in like a physics loop. You will detect the Y position, but we're just going to be doing some basic one-time stuff here. So okay, so let's get started. So to make an if statement, you type in if. Yep, that's a big surprise. And now you type in the stuff that you want to check. So I want to check if the player has a ticket. So ticket, and we want to check if the player has a ticket. So is equal to true. So we want to check if ticket, the value of ticket is equal to true. And if so, then it will execute the script that's inside of here, and you end it with end. Oops. And that should be automatic. So if you have a ticket, it will run this. So if I print player has ticket, it's gonna print true. Player has ticket. And if I set this to false, it doesn't print anything. So let's actually print if we don't have anything. So this is where else comes in. So if this if statement doesn't run, it will instead skip to else. So print player does not have a ticket. So now it will print player does not have a ticket. So we can actually detect the age as well. For this, I'm going to introduce the AND operator. So AND operator, it pretty much checks if the first statement is true and if the second statement is true. So they both have to be true for this to execute. And age. Now we need to check if it's equal to 18 or higher. So we can either do higher than 17. So that means if it's 18 or higher, but I will do if it's higher or equal to 18. So if it's 18 or higher, not just 17 and higher. So let's put this true. As you can see, player has a ticket and is old enough. So if we change this to 17, player does not have a ticket. So let's go even deeper and specify what the problem is if the player didn't get through. This is where else if comes through. So else if is pretty much the exact same thing as doing this, another if statement. So it's pretty much the same as spamming if statements. So yeah, else if else if ticket is not equal to true, then so if you use this little squiggly line and the equal sign, it checks if it's not equal to, or we just do is equal to false, which I'll do. So else, if the ticket isn't equal to false, then print player does not have a ticket. I'm also gonna make sure that he is in age, because I want to pinpoint the problem. Higher than or equal to 18. So now we can do one last else, and this will be if wait, no, one last else if he has a ticket, if ticket is equal to true and age is smaller than 18, then we can do print player does not meet the age requirement. And if all of that fails, we can just do else print player is not old enough and does not meet the age requirement. Player does not meet the age requirement and does not have a ticket. So let's check all of these scenarios. So right now we do not meet the age requirement. Change this to 18 and false. Player does not have a ticket. Okay, let's change this to 17. Player does not meet the age requirement and does not have a ticket. So this, I'm gonna go over this again. So first off, we're checking if the player has a ticket and is over the age of 18. And if this is true, all of this is true, it prints player has a ticket and is old enough. Else, if this is not true, then we're gonna check if the player has a ticket. Oh no, we're gonna check if the player doesn't have a ticket and if he is old enough. Then we're gonna print player does not have a ticket. And if none of these match as well, we're going to do one last else if statement, and we're going to check if the player has a ticket and if he's underage. And if so, then we're going to print player does not meet the age requirement. And if none of these run, then the last option remaining is that he does not meet the ticket requirement or age requirement. So we can just print player does not meet the age requirement and does not have a ticket. So that's how we can use this. Let me show you every operator real quick. So the operators that we have is and or. If and or and what? Okay, so or is pretty much like ticket or age is higher than or equal 17. So or pretty much means if this is true, it will work, or if this is true, it'll work. It's like the reverse of and, because and requires both, whilst or requires one of them to be true. So that's how we can do this. You can also like put these in parentheses and combine them. It's kind of like math but with booleans, I guess. So yeah, you can put these in here and 14. So because they have a ticket and they are 17, so you can imagine this being like a boolean itself, like the stuff inside the parentheses gets combined into a single boolean, which in this case will be true. So if they have a ticket or are they over age of 17 and 14, and 14 is always 14, so it will actually execute the code. So print E. So yeah, you can kind of see how I use the parentheses, because without this it would always print this. Yeah, because without it, it would always print this. It should at least. Oh no, because it has to be, one of these have to be true. Wait. Oh, now none of these are true. Yeah, okay, wait. So you can also avoid equals and not equals. So ticket then has. So you can avoid equal to true. You can just remove it because it pretty much, remember, you can always imagine this as the value that it's set to. So you can imagine this as false. So if ticket, so it's false, which means it's not gonna run. Or we can detect if, so if you change this to true, it's gonna detect if true, then, because ticket is equal to true. And if you want to detect if it's false without using not equal to or equal to, then you can just type not. So if it's not ticket, which it's not, then it's gonna print. As you can see, it worked just fine. So let's change some stuff here. So part, oh, we still have the ball left, okay. Part 2. So local p equals workspace.part. I don't recommend writing your naming your variables as short as this. Equals workspace part 2. Now let's detect the color. Why not? Let's detect the color. So if t dot prick color is equal to prick color dot new relay red, then, so as you can see, it pretty much checks if the prick color is equal to relay red, which it is. Then p2 dot prick color equals p dot prick color. So it's gonna change p2 prick color to p prick color, and they're both gonna be red. There are many examples I can give without using loops, but loops and if statements are usually used together a lot, so yeah, you should check out the next part. But that's everything about if statements. Oh wait, I forgot about the operators, or not the operators, I don't remember what they're called. Yeah, so if number is equal to number 2, then, so there's 6 operators, I think. So there's equals, there is not equals, oops, wrong language. There is higher than or equal to, smaller than, equal to, smaller and higher. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 6 of them. So equals checks if number is equal to number 2. So if 2 is equal to 3, then, but it's not, so it's gonna be false. Not equals detects if number is not equal to number 2. So if 2 and 3 aren't the same, then, so true, it's gonna be true, so it's gonna run this. Higher than or equals detects if number is higher than or the same as number 2. So number, it is not higher or equal to number 2, so it will not print anything if we had a print here. Smaller than or equal checks if number is smaller than or the same as number 2, which in this case would be true because number 2 is smaller than 3. Smaller checks if number is smaller than 3. So if this was 3 and this was 3, it would not be true because it has to be smaller. And higher, it will detect if number is higher than 3, which is not. And if this was 3, it will still not be true because it's equal to. So yeah, that's all of the operators and stuff. That's if statements, else if statements, and else statements. There's nothing to really show examples about. You can just kind of mess around with prints and stuff, I guess. So there's also no challenge I'm going to give today because there really is no challenge to be given today. So yeah, I'll see you in the next part. Bye.